Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates, Season 1, Episode 127. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notification so you know when I drop a video. Now let's get into the video. So, we start off the episode with Bill at home and he's getting himself together and getting ready. And Hayley wants to know, lets him know, let me make you breakfast or whatever. And he was just like, oh no, I have a breakfast meeting. And she was just like, this early? And he was just like, no, I'm gonna stop at Danny's to check on Chelsea first. And she was just like, oh, okay, well let me go get dressed. And he was just like, no, 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 it's okay, you don't have to come. And she gets mad because she's just like, I'm not wanted. Like, what's up with this? Like, why am I not wanted? And it's like, you know why you're not wanted, but we shall move. So we get to Alice. What's this girl's name? Ashley. I was about to say Allison. But we get to Ashley and Madison, and they're at Orphe Jean's and they're having breakfast. And Madison feels like it's her fault because she had this gut feeling about Allison, but she didn't do anything about it. And also Chelsea feels like it's her fault because she didn't see her crazy coming. And Ashley is just like, it's no one's fault, and they shouldn't take that on because Allison is crazy. And it's like, yeah, she's crazy. Like, it's not y'all's fault. Like, but no matter how many times you tell somebody something that it's not their fault, they're still going to think it's their fault. So that's just something that Chelsea's going to have to work through. So we see Kat at home and she's making breakfast, and Chelsea comes in. I mean, well, she's not making breakfast, she's making coffee. So Chelsea comes in and Kat offers her a cup, and she was just like, thank you. And so Kat is telling her, Allison left already because she had to go, she said she was going for breakfast or something like that. And Chelsea's just like, yeah, she told me she was meeting with Ashley or whatever. So as she's, as she's giving her coffee, Kat is just like, I want you to focus on your self-care and healing and resting. And I'm working on everything that's Chelsea Cat, and I'm working on like a statement to put out to your, to your socials. And Chelsea was just like, no need for that. She's just like, yeah, no need to do that. Because I'm deleting all my socials. And Kat's just like, hmm. So we see Danny with Vanessa, and they're talking about Chelsea and the ordeal that she was going through, and how with that ordeal, like how her and Bill like came together. And Vanessa is saying, yeah, there's nothing like a bond between parents is different than a bond between lovers. And that's how her and Doug have stayed together for so long. So then we see Doug coming into Orphe Jeans, and he sees Madison and Ashley because they're getting ready to go to work, and they're asking him how retirement is going. And he was just like, it's the best thing, and you guys need to stop working and X, Y, and Z and all this other stuff. And it's just like, sir, you're living off of your wife. Like, you're a bum right now. I had hopes for Doug, and it's just gone downhill, completely downhill for him. So he sees Randy, and he tells them, don't work too hard. So he goes to sit with Randy, and Randy tells him, like, I didn't want to tell you this over the phone, but I'm just telling you now, like, yeah, I can't help you take down Joey because that'll be bad for me, and Doug is just like, yeah, I understand, whatever. So we see Derek at the hospital, and he's like, I think he's trying to feel his legs or whatever, and Shanice comes in. So he shows her he's been writing down all his work, like everything that he's been doing or whatever. And Shanice is just like, okay, that's what's up. Okay, let's get back to work or whatever. So they get back to work or whatever. Um we see Danny, she's still talking to Vanessa, and she was saying how she thought that she didn't think that, how do I say this? Because basically she was just saying like she didn't think that Bill really loved the family because he was so quick to discard them. And the fact that he came, like, the what he was showing for the family and how much, well, not even the family, for his girls, because she thought that he didn't love his girls because he discarded them the way that he did. She was just like, it's one thing for me, but to do that to my girls, like, she felt some type of way. But because he has been so like hands on with this whole kidnapping thing, she's now seeing it differently, because she's just like, he loves them, and I know that it was never about that. And it was just like, yeah, it was never about him not loving his girls. It was about him not loving you anymore, unfortunately. And that sucks because y'all are so cute together, but Bill fell out of love with you and fell in love with someone else, but he still loved his girls. His girls just didn't want anything to do with him because of how he did their mom. So it's understandable. So she's happy about that, and she hopes that with the way, because of everything that happened, they've had a like they've set aside their issues, and they're now on a better ground with each other. And she hopes that this will, this civility that they're having towards each other, she hopes that it will stay. And Vanessa's just like, well, where does Hayley fit? And she was just like, I don't give a damn where she fits. And it's like, for real, who cares where she fits anyways? So we get back to sorry, we get back to Hayley and Bill, and Hayley is she's saying, like, I'm used to Danny and her family treating me as though I don't belong, but when it comes to you, it hits different, it hits harder. And he's just like, you tripping right now, cause like I don't, like, you're tripping right now, because this is like, right now what you're doing right now is not good. Like, it ain't that serious. And she was just like, she's telling him, like, stop gaslighting me or whatever. And he was just like, what he was like, I'm always on your side. I'm Team Hayley all the time. I even talked to the Duprees to give you more respect and stop being so hard on you. And she was just like, how can they give me respect when you don't give it to me? And um she was like, you acted like you didn't want me around the whole time that Chelsea was gone. And he's just like, you got to cut me some slack. Like, my daughter was missing. I've been out of my mind worried about her. Like, I wasn't thinking about anything but my child. So what's the problem? And she was just like, I understand and I get it. And I'm glad that Chelsea's home, but now that the crisis is over, why do you keep shutting me out? And he was just like, Chelsea's in a fragile state at this moment. Like, she's fragile right now. She don't need to be around all this extra. And right now we need to focus on her. We're not focusing on anybody else but her. And she's still acting extra, and she's just like, I'm used to them acting like I'm invincible, but you acting like I'm invincible, that's like, I'm not going to put up with that, and you can't keep treating me this way. And she wants to know how far he's going to take it and all this other stuff. And he's just like, girl, is you okay? Like, I just want to go see my daughter right now. Like, you doing all of this, and I just want to go see my daughter. She was kidnapped. She was literally kidnapped, and she just got home. I want to go see my daughter, and I don't need to take you with me to see my daughter. My daughter does not like you. Like, like why would I bring you around my daughter who does not like you? And she has good reason to not like both of us. So I'm trying to get in good with my daughter right now. Me bringing you over is not going to help it. So why is you going on and on like that right now? And it's just like, Chelsea, you're making this about, sorry, not Chelsea, but Hayley, you're making this about yourself. Ain't nobody worried about you. They're worried about Chelsea. And you're complaining that you can't be around her. You just tried to get in Naomi's face the other day, and she let you know what it was. Why do you think being in Chelsea's face would be? Yeah, you just got in Naomi's face, and she let you know what it was. And now you're trying to get in Chelsea's face. You think at this time, when she's fragile and she's like, she still got bruises on her head. My girl has been going through it. She ain't put a lick of makeup on since this has happened. She is in sweats and her hair in a ponytail. You think she wants to be around you right now? No, ma'am. So Caroline comes over and she brings Bill a file for the meeting that he's supposed to be going to, and he was just like, "Thank you, Caroline, for the file. I'll see you later, Hayley," and he dips because it's just like, "Girl, you doing the absolute most." So we get back to Kat and Chelsea, and Kat is telling Chelsea that she understands that she wants to, quit social media, but they like, that's their bread and butter for their business. That's like how they can market it. And if she's gonna quit, like it should be a thing where both of them, that should be a decision that both of them make, especially since like you're the face of our brand and we're about to launch or we're trying to launch and you just want to just shut everything down like that. How we gonna do this? And Chelsea's just like, I'm not thinking about purses right now. And it's just like, yeah, I understand. Kat's like, I understand. I'm not, I understand you're not thinking about that, but I still got to think about the business at the end of the day. And it's just like, Chelsea, she got you there because like honestly, that's like y'all have been like you're a posting magnet, and it's just like I understand like you wanting to cut everything off, but it's just like take a break, take a breather. Maybe not cut everything off or delete everything, or maybe just like Chelsea, like Kat was saying, we'll get extra security at the house. We'll get a social media manager so like someone can handle all of that. And it's like, yeah, it's a I get both sides. Like I get where Chelsea's coming from and I get where Kat's coming from. So it's y'all gonna have to figure it out. So yeah, so she's saying she doesn't want to do it anymore. We go to Doug and Joey, not Joey. We go to Doug and Randy, and Doug is basically saying, yeah, I'm a back off, and Vanessa told me that she cut it off with him, so I'm good, and I'm not trying to, whatever. And he's talking loudly about the money laundering, and I'm just like, sir, like that's illegal. Why are you talking so loud? Like, why are we talking so loud? So he's talking about how the money is flowing now, and he's gonna let Joey's business finance him and Vanessa's luxurious second honeymoon or something like that. And I'm just like, oh my God, Doug, you're going out sad. So we get to Derek, and he's doing PT with Shanice, and Ashley and Madison come in, and he's telling Madison like, "Oh, everything is still the same. Just take the numbers and everything that was in the chart that it said yesterday. Put that on for today, because he's not trying to get touched or anything, because he's trying to keep it low key that he feels something." So she was just like, "Yeah, if it all means the same to you, I'm still gonna do my job." So she's touching him and whatever, and he's just like, yeah, no, he don't feel nothing or whatever. So Shanice and Madison leave, and him and Ashley talking, and they kiss or whatever. So we go back to Kat and Chelsea, and again, Kat is like, trying to give her like trying to talk her out of deleting everything. And Danny comes in, and Kat just like she wants to delete all her socials, and Danny was just like, is it because of what we talked about yesterday? Like, no, like don't do it, like, so she gives her a pep talk, and she talks about just like her being her, and she like people are drawn to her because of the light that she has, and it's not because of all that extra stuff. And Chelsea's just like, I don't want any attention, I just want to hide right now. And Danny was just like, you can hide, I will let you hide all you want, but what would grandma say? And she was just like, Dupree's don't hide. And so they give her another pep talk, and they talk about all their family accolades, and like everything that Vernon did and his father did, and what Anita's doing and what Bill's doing. And Chelsea's just like, you giving him credit? And she's just like, yeah, because it's like all his accolades is off of my back, so yes, I'm gonna give him his credit. And then she talks about herself, and it was just like, that's who we are, like that's who we are, like we're a family that's whatever. So they give her like different, like they talk about how she was so excited whenever she would see, and whenever Anita would have her meetings where she would like the gosh, why am I blanking? The meetings that she would have to come up with like her foundation meetings and all that other stuff. And Chelsea was just like, yeah, she was excited to see how they would come up with the money and all of that. And so they're giving her ideas like you could like do like do a foundation for, domestic abuse and all this other stuff, and then proceeds from the sale of the bags can go towards this and all this other stuff. So she's starting to get a little bit into it, and then Bill comes over and he gives her a hug, and they're all smiling. So we get back to Caroline and Hayley, and Caroline is looking at the Chelsea cat bag. And I will say I should have done it when I seen it the first time, but I forgot to pre-order, so I gotta wait until the day that they actually come out to get it. But yeah, I'm gonna get me one of them bags. Them bags is cute. So, anyways, Caroline is looking at the bags and she's just like, "Oh my god, I can't wait till they drop so I can get one or two." And she's just like, "Tell Hayley, please tell me that you've seen it." And Hayley was just like, "Girl, please, you really think they're gonna let me see anything when I can't even see them?" And it's just like, for real, Caroline, them people don't like her. Why would you think that his daughter would even, girl? Anyways, so she talks about the fight, and she's talking about how it's all Danny's fault, and it's just like, um Haley. So she said it's all Danny's fault, and Danny has been draped all over Bill since this whole thing has happened, and that Danny is using the crisis to get back with him. And she feels like if she insists on being around, that she's going to look insecure and be a burden. And either Bill is seeing what Danny is doing, and he doesn't. He's not seeing what Danny is doing, or he does see what she's doing and he doesn't mind, and that's an issue for her. And so Caroline feeds into her delusions and was just like, well, if the roles were reversed, so if you was draped all over another man, how do you think he would feel? So she wants to know more about this idea. And my thing with this whole thing is, you keep saying that Danny is doing this, Danny's doing that, and Danny's doing that. Danny ain't thought about that man since this whole crisis has happened. She has told him, because that is his child. So she had to tell him. And he is the one who, one, has been with her since this happened. He is the one who's told you not to come over. He is the one who told you to go and look for something for Danny, just so that he could give it to Danny to ease her pain about their daughter missing. It ain't been Danny, boo boo. It's been your husband. It's your husband who is cuddling with her and holding her and pushing you aside. Danny hasn't told him once to not tell you anything. That's your husband who has been doing that. So you and Leslie both, y'all keep doing all these things because you think that Danny and Nicole and Anita and them are worried about y'all, and they're not even thinking about y'all. And it's just like y'all are looking desperate and insecure, really. So we get back to Randy and Doug, and they're talking about, yeah, Doug is all talking like big and bad or whatever, and it's just like, sir, you are, girl. Anyways, so Randy tells him to be careful, especially since Vanessa broke it off with Joey, because Joey doesn't take no for an answer, and Joey does not like to be rejected. And Doug is just like, yeah, I don't take Vanessa's word at face value, but I know I have it on good authority that she hasn't seen him. And Randy is just like, how you know? You tracking her? And then his phone dings, and he was just like, I gotta be back. Next thing we see is Vanessa going to Doug. I mean, to Joey. So she goes in there to tell him about some offer on a house that is going to make them money or whatever. And he was just like, all right, thank you. And he was just like, you could have sent this in an email. Like, why did you come? Exactly, girl. Why did you come? We know why you came. So we know. So Doug is just like, yeah, you could have sent this in an email. So what's up? Like, I don't understand why you're here. Sorry, but prior to that, we had seen Derek and Ashley, and she had brought him some ice cream, and they thank each other for showing up for each other. Again, they're so boring. I completely forgot about that scene. So, anyways, again, we see Vanessa and Joey talking about business, and he's just like, "Girl, why are you here? Like, what's the issue? And she was just like, because you told me that you don't have loose ends. And he was just like, you know, I would never hurt you. Like, you know, you knew then that I would never hurt you. So what are we talking about? And she was just like, well, you've been acting weird with Doug and da 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 and all this other stuff, and I just want to make sure that you're not going to do nothing to Doug because, contrary to what you may think, I love my husband, and I just don't understand. What she say? She was just like, yeah, just I love my husband X, Y, and Z, and he was just like, okay, so if I give you reassurance that I'm not going to do nothing to Doug's, what you gonna do? And so we go to Bill with the girls. So he's with Kat, Danny, and Chelsea. And Kat is so excited about what they had talked about, like the idea of her using her socials for good, and she wants to tell Bill, but Danny is just like, let Chelsea do it. So Chelsea tells him, and then Kat butts in again, and she tells him what they're gonna do or whatever. And Bill is just like, oh, that's a good idea. And Danny was just like, I come up with a few here and there. So he gives Danny was pouring coffee for her and Bill. So when she comes over, she puts the coffee on the table and Bill picks it up and he was just like, thanks, babe. And Chelsea and Kat look at each other like, so Kat gets up and she was just like, okay, well, I have a meeting. And Chelsea was just like, well, I can come with you. And she was just like, you need to rest. I'm going to take care of all of this. You rest. So Kat leaves and Chelsea comes back down and she was just like, so, babe. And he was just like, it was just a slip of the tongue, force of old habits or whatever. And he's stuttering and all this other stuff. And Chelsea's just like, so what's going on with y'all? And he's just like stuttering. And then he's looking at Danny and Danny's just sitting there like, and he was just like, you not gonna jump in? She was just like, oh no, you have this. You got this. So he continues to stutter, and Chelsea is just like, look, um, no, she was just like, look, y'all made a truce. No, Bill was like, um, when you were gone, we just it was crisis. We came together, we were each other's rock, and we called a truce, and hopefully this truce can work. And Bill is just like, and hopefully, we can, me and you can do whatever. And Chelsea is just like, look, y'all may have changed, but I can't just get over it right away. And I'm not there yet, but I still have a place for you in my life. And he's just like, okay, I'm okay with that. So we come to Caroline and Hayley, and Caroline is just like, are you sure about this? And I don't know. I feel like this is gonna blow back on you. And what if this makes things worse? And she was just like, no, we're gonna go for it. So she makes a phone call. We go back to Vanessa and Joey, and she's talking about how she's doing this to protect Doug, and she doesn't understand why he was jealous since they've always had an open relationship. And it's just like, did he know that y'all had an open relationship? Because I keep wondering, like, did he know this whole time? Because there are times where he would say things that would make it seem like, okay, so he knew that y'all had an open relationship. But then there are other times that he would act like he didn't know. So I always wondered, did he really know? Like, was this a thing that y'all really talked about and said, hey, we're going to have an open relationship? Or was it just assumed that you had, both of y'all had addictions? You didn't know what his was, but he knew what yours was. And he just let you do what you want to do. Like, I never understood. I guess. So she says that I've had other I've had other encounters with other people and he never tripped over it. I don't understand why he was tripping over this one or why he was so jealous. And he was just like, look, you can lie to Doug all you want to, but don't lie to me. I'm not a random hookup. Like, this is like what what we have is different, and you can't get enough of me, and I want you back and you can't get enough of me. And then they start making out. So we go back to Ashley and Derek, and she's telling him how she researched wheelchair basketball teams or whatever, and she's telling him that he can still be an athlete even if he's in a wheelchair, and he's telling her like he's gonna get better, and so he doesn't need the well he's not going to join the team because he's going to get better, he's going to recover. And then he goes to tell her that he's feeling something, but then he changes his mind, and he says, as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to take you dancing or whatever. So we go back to Chelsea, Danny, and Bill, and Chelsea is basically telling them everything that happened with her and Allison, and how the whole marriage thing or whatever. And they're just like, man, that's crazy. Like, that girl was really, really crazy. And how she was threatening Madison. And Danny's just like, I hope she gets extra years just for the threats. And so Bill asked, like, why didn't you feel comfortable telling me? Did I say or do anything that would make you think that I would have an issue? And she was just like, no, I was gonna tell you. And Danny was just like, yeah, Madison told us. He was just like, and she was just like, the whole family's been going through so much. I didn't know, like, I didn't think it would be right to put another extra thing on you or whatever. And he was just like, I understand, but just know that I have no, like, he didn't say I have no problems, but he was just like, yeah, he like, I don't have no problem with Alice. I mean, not Allison, with Madison. And I what did he say? He basically said, I'm okay with her because she loves you as much as I love you, basically. And Danny was just like, she's part of the family now. And Bill was just like, I hope she knows how dysfunctional we are. And Chelsea was just like, she knows, but she's not afraid. So we see Tomas show up at Bill's house. And I was just like, this man is so dumb. Like, so she tells Caroline and Hayley, basically tell him that they want to plan a surprise party for Bill. And they think that it would be weird if Chelsea is always talking to Caroline. So she wants to plan the party with him. So that way, if Bill asks, they can say that she was helping him with one of his clients or one of his cases or whatever. And he was just like, all right, I'm in. And I was just like, sir, what, like, you wouldn't think it would be suspicious? Like that's her best friend, one. So her talking to her, Bill wouldn't care or wouldn't be suspicious of Hayley talking to Caroline, because that's literally her only friend, Tomas. And you know this. So the fact that you're just like, you would think that that whole scheme made sense. Child, anyway, so we see Derek and he's hitting his leg and he feels it, of course. So we go back to Hayley and she's having second thoughts, and Caroline is just like, are you sure? Like, we can call this off? And she was just like, no, no, I'm tired of giving Danny the upper hand, and we're going to go through this. And again, Danny don't care. Danny isn't worried about you, sir, ma'am. What are we talking about? You the one that's worried about Danny. It ain't her. It's not the other way around, ma'am. It's you. You are the one that's worried. You're the one that's worried that you're going to lose him the same way you got him to the same person you stole him from. Like, ma'am, you should have thought about that before you stole him from that girl. But anyways, so we get back to Chelsea. I am so tongue tied today. Look, I can't even say that right. So we get back to Chelsea, and she's laying in Danny's arms, and she's just like, oh, I'm so tired. So Danny is just like, we got you. Your parents are here. We're here for you. And she's closing her eyes, and Bill puts a blanket over her, and rubbing her shoulders. And Danny is like, rubbing her head or whatever. You know how you hold your baby or whatever. So they're just basically saying, we got you. They're reassuring her and they're reassuring each other. So then we get to Vanessa and Joey, and they just making out like, can't nobody just walk into that room. So they making out, and um they like, first they was making out with her back on the wall, and she twists them around, so now her back is to the door, and Joey is on the wall, and she's kissing him, taking off his shirt, kissing all down his body or whatever, and Doug walks in, and not Bill, Joey sees him and just smiles and like and Doug is just looking like, and then he looks like he's about to cry, and that's how we end the episode. Yeah, so that was episode 127. Get down in them comments, tell me what you guys thought. Again, make sure you are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you can see whenever I drop, and I will see you in the next one.